Oral history has its value.
Like, what is it
So
just to say
this,
that?
what it's trying to say is, number one, just because something's written down doesn't mean it's accurate. And we've
Mm,
had this issue, right?
mm-hmm.
There's certain stories that just because a Western missionary happened to be there when it was
And write it
said and wrote it down, all of a sudden people say that's the gospel. This guy is saying slow down. But what he's also saying here is the oral history, not just from one side, but the oral history that's generally accepted by chiefs or people
down.
in power is very important. Because
Mm-hmm.
why? We've talked about this, right? Oral history has its value, and
Yeah.
it's also very unpredictable because it's subject to, well, where did you hear that story from? What part of the story are you hearing? Did you interpret it the same way? Right? But he's saying if you go to the chiefs, they tend to balance each other out, right?
Mm,
Because they'll say, no, that's not correct. The areas of dispute you can say are uncertain, but if there's areas where they all agree, you can say that's pretty much better than a written history by someone who wasn't amongst the chiefs. And this is what we also say on the podcast. Not all oral histories are created equal, right? And one of the things we feel that the academics have done is when they first came to Polynesia and Polynesian history, they
yeah.
said all oral history is nonsense. Oral history in Tonga with the Falefa said Polynesians navigated with the stars. They said that is silly.
Mm,
There's no constellation like the North Star in the north. Everything moves in the south. Impossible. Then when the more scientific data comes and it's correct, they're like, oh,
they
we have to
shifted.
believe or they overcorrected and believe every history. That's kind of like what I kind of see there, Masi.
No, that makes sense when it does say, when I'm looking here, that you have multiple chiefs, and that tends to balance out the oral history, and especially fixing the gaps. Because right, we've already talked about the weakness of oral history, especially between generation and generation, because you lose a little bit.